effective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
AMS track draft is now. This is a random draw. The next pick of the AMS track draft this season, we have
Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the American Muscle Series as we take to the confines of Virginia International Raceway, racing heaven on earth, in my opinion. Often called the Nordschleife of North America. We'll see how these Mustangs can take to the twisty bits here at ViR. My name is Randall McGrew. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Andre Dirt Grandbouche, and we have Joshua Wilkie on the buttons and the knobs. in our virtual production hauler. Andre, not a new track to the American Muscle Series, but always a challenging one. We've seen this at all spots in the calendar, this time showing up right in the middle. ViR, it always seems to deliver. What do you expect to see tonight?
I think whatever we saw last time is what we're going to see this time. And what we saw last time was a lot of action. It was pretty much door-to-door the entire race. It was a phenomenal 3, maybe even 4 cars, if I remember correctly, battle to the end. Last 2 laps were absolutely intense, trading off the lead back and forth. This is a track where talent really shows. It's narrow, it's winding, and there are some heavy braking zones. I mean, absolutely on the binders with this car at this track in certain places. And then in other sections, you're trying to stay on the throttle as much as you can, a little bit sweeping in a few of the S's, and it's just got everything, man. I love ViR, and it's a really good combo with this car, so I think everybody's in for a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We got some points to go through to get through tonight to talk about the different situations in all 3 divisions. First, we're going to start with the Pro Division. This will mark the halfway point of the season after they complete tonight's race. Luke Sudengay leads the way over Kevin Parrish by only 1 point. Kevin Parrish is having a phenomenal recovery run after a not-so-stellar run the very first round of the season, has marched his way up to second place. Luis Henriquez is just 3 points away from the lead there, so the top 3 are separated by 3 points. Taylor Ballant, who's been really strong here in the past few races, also knocking on the door, wanting to get his way onto that podium. So we're having a big fight brew up front in the Pro Division. Then we're going to jump over to the Challenger Division, where we've seen a big variety of winners, but right now Mark Cohn leading the way in that division with 217 points over Matt Thompson with 212. Levi Powell with 199 points, not too far, not unreachably far behind them, with Dahan Otu, last week's Challenger winner, there sitting in 4th place, trying to close that gap up to the leaders. And then over to the much smaller but always powerful amateur division, we will see that it is Kevin Berg with a commanding lead over Freddie Weaver. Kevin Berg conspicuously absent tonight, so it could have some pretty big championship implications. Freddie Weaver in second, trying to close that gap up. John Casey in a 3rd place with 172 points, kind of losing contact with the top 2, but has a comfortable margin over Jeff Bernard for that final step on the podium. So keep an eye on the red number plates. We'll see how that race shakes out. Could be a big shift tonight with Kevin Berg missing. And we see the drivers, they're now on their 2nd flying lap in qualifying. We're seeing some times come across the board right now. Jeff Schnackle is leading the way with a 2:04.337. Luis Henriquez is about 4/10 slower than him. The Schnack attack is on right now. Luke Sudengay was one of the faster drivers in practice as Kevin Parrish crosses the line and usurps Jeff Schnackle with a 2:04.315. Waiting to see, there's a one driver I'm waiting to see get a set of time here, and I don't think he has yet. But Taylor Ballant was very, very fast, was the fastest of everybody through the practice session. I don't see him setting a time yet. And looking for him on the timing screen, there he is coming through. It looks like turns 1 and 2 right now, or no, he's coming around Oak Tree, so he is on his 1st lap, flying lap still. So we have not yet seen a timed lap out of Taylor, but I suspect he'll be up there with Kevin and Jeff trying to fight for that pole position as he makes his way down the straightaway now. Andre, this is going to be the biggest passing opportunity on the track right here. Is this where you expect to see everything kick off?
It's where we saw a lot of passing last time we went here. Obviously, you've got the big slipstream down the straightaway, then into this braking zone, and even down the hill, right? You kind of got that switchback right hand to left hand, another hill that you're cresting. It opens up the possibility for drivers to trade off positions numerous times in the section alone. Again, through another right-hander, the final right-hander of the track onto the straightaway, which, again, very narrow. If you're muscling for position, it gets even narrower. So it is going to be a blast. Plenty of passing opportunities, not just there, but everywhere, including turn 1. I remember turn 1 was very exciting, for a lack of a better word, last time we went here, and for good reason. It is the hairpin of all hairpins, and they are going to be fighting for every square inch of it. As we see Luis Henriquez getting a little more practice in. Had a bit of a rough week last week, kind of uncharacteristic of him, but I have no doubt as he was part of the lead battle here last time around, he'll be up there again today as he really gets this thing right on those curbs. I got to ask you, Randall, what is the weather forecast for today? Because it is looking extremely cloudy. That track could be pretty cold right now.
Yeah, it is. Cloudy is the forecast. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, and that would be meatballs in the form of meatball flags. It does not look like we have any chance for rain, so it's just going to be nice and overcast. It's going to cool that track off. In practice, the clouds had just rolled in as we started the practice session, and the track temperature was up near 112 degrees Fahrenheit. It's all the way down to 96 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's going to start giving these drivers a little bit more grip as the track cools off. We watch Luis Enriquez make his way through Oak Tree, waiting to see somebody come close to the line and try to get them on their third flying lap and try to get a lap around ViR here. We have plenty of time to talk through a lap. Just waiting to see. It looks like maybe Luis Enriquez is probably the closest right now to finishing a lap, and we'll get on board with him. And Luis is a wheelman. Don't let the fourth place fool you. He is an absolute driver of this Mustang. He knows how to take care of the equipment. He knows how to bide his time and play the patience game, do a little bit of fuel saving, and come alive at the end of the race, as we see him making his way down the hill through Hogpen here in the final corners of the track. Get a nice good run out of here, and there's your pit entry on the right hand side of the track. A very straightforward pit entry and a very straightforward pit exit here at ViR. This not straight front straightaway, a little bit of a bend in it that sets you up for the approach to turn one. You're going to see him blend his way over to the left-hand side of the track, and it sounds like he's getting out of it pretty early, so either having some sort of hardware issues or maybe going to surrender this lap. He's going to be parking it there. That's not going to give us a lap guide at all. Kevin Parrish coming around here to start his third lap, so we'll see if we can get on with Kevin as he's making his way through Hogpen. He'll have one more bite at the apple here. So that's going to be Luis Enriquez hanging it up with 2 laps on the board with a 2:04.112. He doesn't really feel he can go any faster, so we'll see if Kevin Parrish is able to challenge Luis Enriquez here or not as he crosses the line to start his final lap, and he does. So that is a 2:04.063, and maybe I'm misreading the timing screen, and these are drivers are finishing their final laps. Yeah, it looks like they are on their third laps now, so we might not be able to get a good lap guide around. Everybody's getting their laps done now. Maybe Taylor Ballant will have one more to go, but I doubt it given what everybody else has done. He's about halfway through his lap right now. We see him make his way through Oak Tree and down the straightaway. We could talk through the back half of this, because this is really where all the action is going to be. This massive straightaway that leads up to Roller Coaster is where you see all the slipstreaming happen. And the lap leading up to this, if you don't get a move done in turn 1, is really about survival and getting yourself set up for a good run down this straightaway. There'll be a big braking opportunity here. You see them go 2 or 3 wide into Roller Coaster, and then really there's only one line through here, so you got to get that move done. And it's one of those situations where if you don't get the move done, you're probably going to end up losing spots. And then you see him riding the curves here very well as he comes down through Hogpen, gets kind of hesitantly on the throttle, a bit of oversteer there as he comes through the final bend. It has to give it a little bit of opposite lock to keep the car tamed, pointing in the right direction down the front straightaway. We'll see if he's able to improve from 7th place or not, as we're getting that word to come in. And yes, it's going to bump him up to 3rd with a 2:04.229. So a good show there out of Taylor Ballant. We got some very fast drivers up front. We got a few more out here trying to set their last laps. Right now, Freddie Weaver is who we're watching with the Flintstones mobile. This guy changes paints more often than Mariah Carey changes clothes at an award show. I tell you what, it's always a moving target with Freddie.
Yeah, it is always a moving target, and he's going to be moving in the points. We talked about Kevin Bird being absent tonight. If he has a good run, and he is currently the top qualifying amateur, that would pretty much assuredly put him in the points lead for the division, at least for the time being. So it's going to be interesting. It is going to be very interesting. It's going to basically be a battle to the end of the season, I think. If Kevin Berg shows up again next week, it is really going to keep things tight. So it'll be fun as he continues his little downhill segment there. P18 on the board currently, and yeah, he's always got a new paint, which, as a driver, you love it. You keep things fresh. As a broadcaster, I'm sitting here like, the blue car with the guy in it, with the sponsor. Yeah, that's what it is for us. But you got to appreciate the flair. And hey, can't go wrong with the Flintstones.
He's going to yabba dabba do his way in to the pit lane there and get a good practice pit entry. It looks like he maybe have gotten an off track somewhere in that lap and decided to surrender there at the end. Watch Dave Moore making his way down through South Bend now and up towards Oak Tree. This guy has been a little bit snake bit this season, Mr. Dave Moore. I can remember one self-inflicted spin and then just kind of been in the wrong place at the wrong time for most of the season. Dave is going to be looking to have a good finish here tonight. I know he loves VIR, and this Mustang and that paint job just looks right at home here.
Yes, it does. It is very at home, and like you mentioned, he's had some bad luck, but the runs that he's had prior to that bad luck have been really good. He's had so much pace. Particularly at Daytona, he had a lot of really good pace going on there. So I would not be surprised if we see this guy in victory lane before the end of the season. He's just got to put the whole race together, which sometimes easier said than done. Of course, I'm in the booth. He's actually trying to get it done, but he's going to bring it down pit road, and it is going to be roughly an 11th place starting position as only a couple minutes left in quals. Pretty much everybody has posted their time. It's going to be... I think if there's any track you can work your way through the field, Randall, it is this track. There is so many passing opportunities. Qualifying may not be game over, but one thing you got to think about when you qualify mid-pack like that or even further back, turn one is going to be hectic. It is going to be chaos, very heavy braking zone, and a very long right-hander. It's almost a double right-hander, so more time for things to go awry. And if you're ahead of the field, that's not your problem. You can watch it all happen in the mirror and drive away and have a good time, but if you're back there in 10th, 15th, or even 20th, it's kind of the worst place to be. You know, even if you're last place, you've got the luxury of taking it easy, watching it happen in front of you, and just kind of, tiptoeing on through, but not when you're in the middle. So qualifying important in that regard.
We got about 40 seconds here before all these drivers are booted off track, and we'll get those official standings. And I do want to go through one time and talk about the different divisions, since we don't talk about it very often. We have 3 divisions: the Pro Division, numbers 1 through 99, and they have the green number board. The Challenger Division is kind of the middle division, the guys that are fast in some places but not really fast enough to keep up with the pros full time. They are in the blue. They have the blue number panels, and they are numbers 100 through 199. And then the Amateur Division, not slow, just sometimes they don't have the experience or don't necessarily have the pace to keep it up over a full race in those red number panel cars with the numbers 200 through 299. So that'll give you a bunch of different ways to keep track of the different divisions as qualifying is brought abruptly to an end for Chuck Lobano. We'll get the official grid here as soon as it comes across. That looks like it's coming in right now. But Kevin Parrish is going to be your pole sitter here for round 6 with a 2:04.062. Starting next to him, Luis Henriquez. Taylor Blank going to start off third after being the fastest driver in practice. Fabian Zweyer is starting fourth. The Schnack Attack is starting in P5 with Luke Sudengay starting next to him in P6. Evan Hubchak, who's had a pretty quiet season, is due for a really good finish, is going to be rolling off in P7. Neil Kemp is starting P8. Andrew Bailing in P9. And on your Challenger Division pole in 10th place overall, Matt Thompson lining up in P10.
Outside of the top 10, David Moore, P11. Dahan 02, it continues his charge trying to make up some points. P12 rolling off the grid. Levi Powell going to be 13th, and if you look to his outside, it is Ryan Campbell. Chuck Lobano takes 15th. Aaron That Face Bray going to take P16. Mark Cohn, the Watchman, going to be P17. Freddie Weaver going to be P18. Jay Bast rolling off 19th, and running out the top 20, Mr. Brandon Brush.
The Iceman, hailing from Antarctica, Andy Bell's going to line up 21st, and starting next to him, Daniel Gabaldon in 22nd. Mark Royce starting 23rd. Next to him, I know you're a truther, Charlie Hosey in the number 100 entry. Starting in P25, Ed Sanchinelli. And next to him, Mike Darknut Neekum. 27th, Tom Went with Matthew Gazinda rolling off in 28th. Jeff Andrus is going to start in 29th. Brandon Carl in 30th. 31st, Dave Blair. 32nd, Joe Sacchetti. 33rd, Jeff Bernard. 34th, Jay Little. Stephen Price in 35th with Brandon Smith in 36th. And then we got to go all the way back to 37th and 38th. We have 37th, John Casey, who did not set a quality time, or yes, he did. He is just not lined up on the grid quite yet. And Scott Brooks is going to start shotgun on the field in 38th place. 38 Mustang's going to pile into turn 1 here in about 1 minute exactly. What do you predict, Andre?
Man, I don't know. I've been predicting chaos for turn 1. I'm going to stick by that prediction, but I think after they get through turn 1, it should be some pretty good racing all the way through.
Absolutely. We were waiting to see Barney grab that flag in his hand. We're waiting to see the pole sitter. Sorry, the pole sitter is sitting there. They are staggered in position. We are waiting for P4 and a couple other drivers to take to the grid. So waiting to see everybody on the grid. We do have about 25 seconds before the race officially starts. So some of these drivers are going to wait to the absolute last moment before they grid their cars. Fabian Zweyer being one of them. And there he is. Fabian Zweyer starting P4. So yes, it's going to be an absolutely wild run down to turn 1. They got a lot of chance to shake it out. The track temperature has gone up to 106 degrees with the sun coming out 5 seconds or so away. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hold on to your seats because it's about to get wild. We're gonna wait for Barney to throw that flag up in the air and wait to see these drivers underway, waiting to see the lights, and green flag is in the air. We are underway here at ViR. Kevin Parrish going to lead the pack down to turn 1, and we see him getting 3 wide back in the midfield already as they're going to fan out as they approach turn 1. Looks like Luis has got a really strong start on the outside, but he's not. Oh, somebody's going off. That's like Neil Kemp going way off there in turn 1 as Kevin Parrish is going to continue to lead it after having that inside line, able to hold off Luis Enriquez through turn 1. Everybody else so far seems to be making it clean. Neil Kemp taking a bit of a detour. I sure hope he's okay. We'll see if he's got any damage on that car, if he's able to continue. Kevin Parrish continues to lead the way as they make their way through NASCAR and into the Snake. One of the trickier parts of the track we see there, Freddie Weaver getting a little bit of traffic there in the form of Aaron Bray having to run a bit wide. Matt Thompson there running next to Dave Moore, trying to get single file before they go through the S's. This is a very tricky spot to go through on cold tires. It's even trickier to go through 2 wide, and we're going to see Matt Thompson and Dave Moore try it out. They're both eating up them curbs. Looks like Dave Moore gets the advantage. Maybe Matt Thompson thinking that discretion is the better part of valor and pulling out of it just a little bit to let them go through single file, and it looks like the rest of the field has made their way single file as they make their way to Oak Tree for the first time.
So far, very little separation throughout the field. They are flowing through these corners like water as we are on the back straightaway. Lots of slipstream to be had here, but Kevin Parrish says, what slipstream? Not my problem. He's trying to drive away from Luis Enriquez, who is closely followed by Taylor Ballant. Again, fastest in practice. Ballant started a little bit towards the bottom of the podium there, but he's got company as well. Look at Fabian Zweyer. That's another driver sort of like David Moore that has just had really good pace this year and not always having the best luck to go with it. But again, if you're good enough, eventually you're going to get the luck too. And he is really showing good speed here at ViR. Behind him, Jeff Schnackle, P5 as they run. But look at that gap that is closed up. Luis Enriquez was 0.6 of a second back on the back straightaway. Now on the front straightaway, he is within striking distance, 0.1 seconds. Going to look outside. Not sure if he's going to be able to make anything happen here, but drives it a little bit deeper into the corner, pulls up to the quarter panel. He's going to get a good run here. The outside is more viable than you think in turn 1. We saw a couple passes last time around in this corner a couple seasons ago, so didn't work out for him that time. Thanks for making a liar out of me there, Luis, but you can make it work. Take my word for it, or don't. But
yeah, we have seen that.
Taylor. Go ahead.
You're right. We have seen that work a few times on the outside, but you have to pinch him down. And I don't think Luis Enriquez is really looking to fight very hard right now. 40 minutes is a long time in these Mustangs, so he might be looking to take care of them tires a little bit. Maybe he thinks Taylor's got something for Kevin that he doesn't have quite yet, and is going to let Taylor go up there and do the dirty work. As we see Jay Bass, and is that Mark Cohn in front of him, and a couple of cars. Dahano Toot, Matt Thompson going to go 2 wide. Matt Thompson keeps having to back out of these fights as they get to the S's. This is 2 laps in a row that he's found himself approaching the S's 2 wide and is wisely backed out. So you watch Chuck Labano leading this trio here as they make their way up to Oak Tree. It looks like he's got Levi Powell all over the rear end. And Levi's going to run a little bit wide, and he's going to have a nice wide apex there, and that's going to open up the opportunity for Ryan Campbell and possibly for Dan Ott, as well as Chuck Labano is just going to drive off into the sunset. Levi going to be dropping like a stone as they go down this straightaway with no slipstream help and a bad run off of Oak Tree. That just shows you how important it is to get Oak Tree right. But Levi's going to fight back with Dan Ott as they approach the roller coaster. He's going to have the inside for the start, but then when it comes to the really slower corner, he's going to be on the outside, but he's able to hang tough. Is going to stick side by side with Dan Ott as they make their way down the hill. Now Dan's going to finally clear the nose of Levi's car and close that door as they get through a hog pin. So Levi ends up losing 2 spots just off of one little bitty mistake in the second apex of Oak Tree.
Yeah, he's going to lose a little bit of pace there in that 181, but still within distance to fight back, get it right towards the bumper there. Down into turn 1, they're going to get down on the curb, and Ryan Campbell trying to continue to lead that Challenger division, P11, but not without challenge. And that right there, Schnackle moving on through, and they're going to switch back. That was quite the back and forth. Looks like that number 7 machine not wanting to give it up very easy. Evan Hoopchok, that is a driver who hasn't showed up every single week this year, but man, he's here today, and he's letting you know it. He is up inside this top 10 and trying to get inside the top 5, racing like it's the last lap of the race, but we've still got 35 minutes to go. So good to see Evan back in the Mustang this week, but I'm sure he's wishing he was in a little bit of a different situation. That is a 3-car snake breathing down his neck as we ironically go through the snake. A little bit further back, what do we got? Brandon Brush in the 68 trying to run down Aaron That Face Bray. That's a car you can always rely on. Maybe you can't rely on Freddie Weaver, but Aaron Bray, if the car is not orange, it's not Aaron. And we know that he is getting on the binders hard there as we went on board with Brush. He just about had a little bit of contact. The cat-like reflexes get him slowed down now down this very long straightaway.
He had me guessing. I thought he was going to run into the back of the War Eagle there. Aaron Bray sporting a new paint representing Auburn University this week. I bet he was puckering just a little bit watching that mirror as he saw that number 68 car get close very rapidly on the braking zone for Oak Tree. Here at the back end of the mid-pack, we see Charlie Hosey is going to be getting around the Iceman Andy Bell. So Charlie Hosey starting to make his way up through the grid. He's up 3 spots from where he started, so he's making some hay while the sun is shining. We are starting lap 4 this time by, and what appears to be a 20-lap race. We do have one pit stop that's going to be taken by all these drivers, but it should not affect the lap count. We're going to see, is that Andrew Bailing making a move on Luke Sudengay or just defending it? He's going to lose it on his own right in front of Luke. Luke is going to get caught up, and it looks like no significant damage on Luke's car, but he just had nowhere to go as Bailing lost it all on his own right in front of him. Bailing going to try to find his way back to the gray stuff. Doesn't look like he has a lot of damage on the car either. He just lost a lot of time and a lot of positions, dropping from 7th place well further back from that now and outside the top 10, and causing Luke Sudengay to have a big checkup. We're going to see Brandon Carl, welcome back to the league, Brandon Carl, as he's dealing with old-time Sim Pit rival Dave Blair there for 30th position right now, fighting with Dave. Dave is another one of those drivers that plays the patience game. Dave is the all-time ranking champion when it comes to the Clean Driver Awards in the American Muscle Series. I think he won it every single year or every single season that he was in the amateur division. He's now racing up in the Challenger division for the first time. We see Andrew Bailing recovering from that incident. We didn't get to see the incident itself where he just kind of lost it on his own, cooked it just a little too much. Here we go. We're going to get a view of it right here, Andre.
Yeah, I think he got on the throttle a little bit too early. He saw that blue car, Luke Sudengay, in his mirror, jumped on the throttle trying to defend, and unfortunately there was not enough grip. He was already at the limits and kind of spun him across Sudengay's nose. That cost Sudengay a little bit of time, cost him some time. And we are doing a lot of lawn work over there. I was going to say that it was just Matt Thompson, but then everybody followed him, and I noticed the tire marks. Is that part of the track, Randall?
I can tell you what it looks like. It looks like Mark Cohen went off, and then we had a bunch of lemmings following him off track there as four or five more after him. Just decided we're going to go too, and it's so easy to do. That is the hardest corner on the track, South Bend, and you're fixated on that car in front of you, and they go off, suddenly you find that you're going off. So it's one of those really hard habits to break. You see pro drivers even falling victim to it, as we see Chuck Labano racing here with Ryan Campbell. Is he going to look to the inside of turn one? No, he's going to bide his time right there on the bumper and keep the pressure on Ryan Campbell as they make their way through turns 1 and 2 and make their way towards NASCAR turn. This is also a very tricky corner here. It's all about the trail braking. If you try to threshold brake, you are going to die in that corner. That's the only way I can describe it. If you try to threshold brake, you will die.
Well, then you probably don't want to brake too hard there. Luckily, this race has been a lot cleaner than what I was really expecting. Turn 1, we only had one car go off, and then, of course, a couple of issues there that we were just getting replays of. But for the most part, no huge DNFs, no massive damage to any of the Mustangs still on track. Neil Kemp did call it a day after his turn 1 incident, so I don't know if he got damaged or had some sort of hardware issue. The way that he darted off the track looked to me like it could have been hardware, because he just didn't seem to turn. That would be a real kicker if he just was unable to get that thing through the first corner because of hardware. But this is a bit of a replay here. Taylor Ballant on Henriquez gets to the quarter panel side by side for second place. Got Kevin Parrish up ahead. Not sure what happens here. Anything of note? We're on the binders, tapping the brakes. Just a bit of a battle going on.
Yeah, we're just going to take a look here.
Kemp.
Yeah, from Neil Kemp's point of view, yeah, it looks like absolutely no response from the brakes, and yeah, no movement from the hands. I don't know if Neil's a ViR driver or not, but there was something definitely was wrong there, and I don't know how he really didn't take anybody with him. Everybody else was pretty heads up in order to stay out of the way, but there was no hesitation or slowdown there other than maybe the throttle turning off, but he just drove straight off the track. Luckily didn't take anybody else with him. I don't even see an investigation from the steward, so it looks like it was pretty clear cut from up there, as Taylor Ballant is having to deal with Jeff Schnackel now. Looks like Fabian Zweyer's gotten his way around Taylor Ballant, as has Luis Enriquez, and Jeff Bernard has went off on possibly on his own. We see him there, yeah, coming out of Oak Tree, a big snap in the rear end. He tries to correct it, overcorrects it, ends up all the way off and is sliding around and doing all kinds of donuts. He eventually finds his way back onto the track and carries on, but no harm, no foul there as we watch. Now here comes Aaron Bray, Daniel Gabaldon gonna be fighting, coming through the left-hander before the snake, and yeah, that's what it looks like, the left-hander before the snake. So Aaron Bray going to get the spot, or defend against Daniel Gabaldon. Defending against Daniel Gabaldon, and retains that spot. But Daniel's looking racy as they approach the S's. He's showing the nose, not going to quite be there to go too wide. Not that he would really want to, but maybe trying to set up a move for after Oak Tree. He's going to need to stay pretty close to get that good slipstream down the straightaway. But right now, Aaron Bray holding his own. We're going to see something out of Brandon Carl and possibly involving Scott Brooks as they approach turn 1 here. Andre, talk us through it.
So yeah, we're taking an eye out for Brandon Carl. We'll see what exactly happened here. He just kind of cuts down low, bit of an awareness issue, gets to the quarter panel, and then it's a bit of a bumper car situation. Track is blocked. A couple of cars have to come to a complete and total stop for the recovery. Local yellow goes out, but everybody else continues racing. You'll have that, these corners, it's so crucial that you get to the curb, and it looks like he just kind of snuck up on him. He was 3 car lengths back, Randall, going into that corner. I don't think Brandon Carl expected anybody down there at all, and then he just had that very deep send, and that'll happen occasionally. Nothing malicious on either side, just 2 cars trying to go for everything.
That was Joe Cicchetti there on the inside. I am watching the stewarding chat, and it does look like that incident is under investigation. We know that Joe Cicchetti always has a big fan club in the chat, so maybe we're going to get to see a slap on the wrist there. I'm not sure exactly what the steward will find, but you're right. That was a very optimistic move from quite a ways back. I'm guessing that there might be a penalty resulting out of that, but the steward has the final say and may deem that a racing incident as well. So we'll keep our eyes on the stewarding chat and let you know as soon as we know everything. Let's go through the leaders right now. Right now, Kevin Parrish leading the way over Luis Enriquez with a nice, nearly 2.5 second gap. So he's managed to break away from P2. And then P2, Luis Enriquez there is kind of in a bubble on his own. He's another 2 seconds back to Fabian Zweyer, Taylor Blant, Jeff Schnackle, and Evan Hubchak. So that's the Pro Division and the overall race. We have to go only back to 9th place to find the Challenger Division leader in the form of Ryan Campbell. He has one car, Chuck Labano, between him and 2nd place in the Challenger Division, Dan Ott. So he's looking to maybe try to open up a gap and try to get some more cars between himself and Dan as this race progresses. We just have 26 minutes left in this race, so we might be seeing some pit traffic here sometime soon. And then we go back to 15th place, and we see Freddie Weaver making the best of this opportunity with Kevin Berg out of the race. Right now, sitting in 15th position, Freddie Weaver leading the way in the amateur division. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars between him and the Iceman, Andy Bell. So if he's able to keep this up, maybe even gain a few more spots, it's going to be a big haul of points for Freddie Weaver. But up front, looking pretty stretched out right now. I'm not exactly sure what would have led to that big of a gap. I know that Luis Enriquez got around Taylor Blant, and Taylor Blant lost another spot to Fabian Zweyer at some point while we were looking through replays. So I can only assume that maybe Taylor had a big checkup or an incident and had to back out of it and cause everybody to separate up front a little bit. But so far, okay, so I'm hearing this is the pass between Luis Enriquez and Taylor Blant, and Fabian Zweyer is right there. So maybe this is where things kicked off, as they're making their way up to a roller coaster. We'll keep an eye here, and it looks like they're going to go too wide behind Luis. Luis runs pretty deep in there, but everything's looking clean so far. They're going to make their way too wide down the hill, fall into single file. So it must have been another point in time where there was possibly an incident, or maybe everybody's pace is just shaken out. So we're not really seeing much in the way of off tracks or anything else from those drivers. So it looks like it's just pace. That gap from Luis back to Fabian is getting a little bit smaller. And right now, Taylor Blant is holding on to the fastest lap of the race with a 2:03.992, which is faster than the pole time in qualifying. So there is a lot of pace to be had in that slipstream, and Henriquez is just going to cook it just a little bit too much. And what a way to wrangle that car through Oak Tree. He's going to lose a lot of time and fall back to that group behind, and Kevin's going to have a much bigger lead, but it could have been way worse for Luis there.
It definitely could have. Also, judging by the scoring pylon, it looks like the race control has reached a decision on Joe Sacchetti, as he is in pit road with a black flag, so maybe something to do with that incident there. But yeah, Henriquez giving it his all. You saw him get a little loose there. There is a replay of Sacchetti on pit road. Is he going to take any sort of service with this black flag? I don't even know if he can. But then back to live scenes. Seems like Henriquez trying to reel in Kevin Parrish. But that 3.2 second gap is going to be quite difficult to reel in. If he gets within draft distance, maybe he's got something. But yeah, it just seems like he might not be super comfortable with the car, Randall. We've seen him get loose and the rear end step out a time or two. I don't know if something's going on with the track temp. It does seem to be a lot sunnier here in the race session than it was in qualifying, so maybe a little bit less grip. The track could be a little bit warmer. I'll tell you who's liking the track is Kevin Parrish, still leading the way. 3.1 seconds. Can't even hardly see him in his mirror. And this guy has been class of the field this season. On his return season, took a little time off. Now he's back in one of these Mustangs for the AMS, and I'll tell you what, he has been the dominant force.
Yeah, after busting that rust in the first race, he's been very, very much up front and in the conversation just about every single race. I have noticed that you can see a very, very defined line of rubber on this track. So this track is very rubbered in. There's a lot of usage on this track, which means that the Mustang is going to definitely be more slippery. It's one of those oddball cars that prefers a green track over a rubbered in track. That might be what Luis is struggling with as we watch Joe Sacchetti come off. I can confirm that Joe Sacchetti was issued a drive-through penalty. Now, if he did stop for service, that will not count as serving his drive-through. And I'm looking here at the timing screen to see. I think he did come back in after that. And now he's been sitting still for about 3 minutes, or about a minute and a half. So I think he's just going to be done. I'm hearing in my ear that he actually towed. So I think he's just decided to hang it up, because he's going to have to go back through for a drive-through penalty. You cannot take service and serve a penalty. As we watch Luis Enriquez there come off screen, a little bit wild looking, a little bit sideways looking as he comes into roller coaster, but manages to keep it under control, but a little uncharacteristic seeing Luis Enriquez have that much problems with car control. Maybe the setup isn't dialed in for this much track usage, whereas Kevin is probably a little bit more on the button with the setup and made some minor adjustments to tweak for that track usage and it being a little bit more slippery. But this top 5, other than the Kevin Parrish checking out, this top 5 is pretty close together. So 2nd through 6th actually there, with Luke Sudengay not very far behind in 7th. So this could be a pretty big fight for 2nd place. And who knows, we could see Kevin Parrish have a little bit of a bobble and give up some of that gap. It could be closed up with some pit strategy. Maybe some bump drafting can help close it up a little bit. But right now, Kevin Parrish is sitting pretty as we watch the rest of the top 7 make their way into the snake and make their way towards the S's. I would like to give a shout out here to Mike Darknut Neekum and the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop. Check out the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop for all of your AMS swag needs and for, sim racing stuff. He's got pedal mods, as we see Jay Little in the pit lane, pedal mods, laser etched trophies and slates. Check out D-Nut Stuff on Etsy. It looks like we also have Stefan Price coming to the pit lane, so we're starting to see some early pitters coming in now for service. Tom Wendt among those as well. And one more shout out to Whiplash Sim Cams. Thank you so much for providing these awesome cameras that you're seeing on the broadcast. That makes the broadcast look so much better. Check out Whiplash Sim Cams. Andre, pit road's starting to get busy. What is your strategy here? Do you come in early like these drivers, or do you try to stretch it out?
Well, you were talking about the rubber being laid down on the track and how you kind of have to be in that groove or kind of worry about slip sliding around. Well, if you're one of these guys that's slip sliding around, you might want to get on fresh tires a little bit quicker and hopefully preserve this new set a little bit better. But if you're somebody like Kevin Parrish, who's just kind of been cruising and we've not really seen you abusing the tires too much one way or the other, you can probably afford to take the overcut. And I think repeatedly this season, the overcut has been a very viable strategy. So it really just depends on how you've been driving. Have you been taking care of your car? And not an easy task, taking care of your stuff here at ViR. This track will demand everything out of you and your machine and then some. So to save here, not an easy task, but we're following now with Aaron Bray in that 163, still rocking P18. I believe that's where he was last time we checked in on him. He's got bailing ahead. Charlie Hosey a little bit further back behind him. Charlie Hosey qualified, I believe, in the mid-20s, so up to P19, gained a few positions. So, the Charlie Hosey train continues to roll. I still believe in him. He is up 5 from where he qualified, to be exact. But the biggest movers, Brandon Smith up 10 and Scott Brooks up 10 from where they qualified. That is pretty impressive, given they were a little bit further back. But again, pit sequences could play into that. Either way, we are not seeing a lot of movement up front. Look at that there. Kevin Parrish, 0. Luis Enriquez, 0. Fabian Zweier, 1. They are not moving around much up there.
No, we just saw, though, Jeff Schnackle just recently dropped 3 positions, so something kicking off between Jeff Schnackle, Taylor Blant, Evan Hoopchak, and Luke Sudengay that caused Schnackle to lose a handful of positions. He just got his way back around Luke. So here we're trying to dial in a replay to see exactly what happened. But here they are. This is Andrew Bailing getting the move done on Aaron Bray as they approach roller coaster. It looks like Bray saw it coming and decided to back out and just let it happen and live to fight another day. Now here's what we're looking for. Schnackle here on Taylor Blant as they approach the left-hander of NASCAR, and he's going to have to get in there very boldly, and we're going to see a crossover move out of Blant as they make their way into the second left-hander. Blant going to get up there on the curve. So far so good. They're making their way into the snake, but then there goes Schnackle off track, and he's going to have to do a good job there of holding on to it. Keeps his foot in, and it gives up a couple spots. And then he's going to lose one more to Sudengay. Sudengay is going to make his way alongside as they make their way up to the S's. He will have the inside line here for the initial run through the S's. The Schnackle back out. It looks like Schnackle does back out just enough to allow Sudengay to close off that position. But then it gets him back almost right away up in Oak Tree as they make their way through South Bend. He's going to line up a move here on the inside. Textbook late braking. Oh, a little bit of a forearm shiver there out of Schnackle on Luke Sudengay. Luke's not going to be happy with that, and he's going to drive away. He better drive quick because I bet Luke's seeing red right now.
Yeah, and you got to think too, Sudengay has been involved in a couple incidents. Again, earlier he had to check up big time when another driver cut across his nose, got spun sideways into the grass. It's been an eventful day for that number 41 Mustang. Seems like he just can't get into the clean air no matter what he does. Luckily right now, nobody ahead, but he does have a hard-charging Schnackle right behind, and that could definitely come back into play. These two, no strangers to one another, working their way through the snake. Schnackle has, he had a really standout debut season. He's had some good speed this year, but another one of those drivers that maybe not getting the results we expected, Randall. I mean, a little bit further back on the pylon. Today, though, he wants to get up on that podium. He has taken some really good lines. You saw he got to the apex just a little sooner than the 41, and it closed him in. It's a little bit of over revving on the throttle there, broke the tires loose, lost some time, but now in the slipstream, this battle is far from over. And if they work together, they just may catch this pack up ahead. This is going to be third, fourth, and fifth. Taylor Ballant, Fabian Zweier, Evan Hubchak doing everything they can to navigate this circuit without too much trouble. But again, just outside the podium. And then taking another look at Ryan Campbell. Here's another driver with an eventful race thus far. He has not gotten away from Chuck Labano. These two have been around each other pretty much all race long. And well, that's not changing anytime soon. Behind them, Dahan O'Toole. That will just go on through the field. Dahan O'Toole, P11. That is going to be the battle between Ryan Campbell, Dahan O'Toole. That is the challenger lead. And I'll tell you, Dan's actually been taking chunks out of it, Randall. He has been little by little reeling them in. This second division may not be decided.
No, we still have half a season to go after this. There's still lots of racing to go, lots of things to be decided. We're seeing 4 more drivers take to pit lane. Pit lane's starting to get a little busy. You may have saw last lap that we saw Aaron Bray come into the pit lane. He also had one of those infamous black squares next to his name. It looks like he got a speeding on entry penalty. So his pit stop time is very, very long. He stopped for 54.87 seconds. So 40 seconds of that would have been the stop and hold for speeding on a pit lane. So getting caught out coming into the pit lane, we saw he's dealing with some traffic on the entry. You're going to take one look at this, and he's pretty late on the binders here. And look, to me, it looks like he got down to speed, but iRacing disagrees and issued him the black flag. Maybe possibly crossed a white line that he shouldn't have crossed, but it looked like a very clean entry to me as we watched Scott Brooks making that same pit entry. We have one update on the fastest lap bonus point. That belongs to Luke Sudengay right now with a 2:03.858. We take one more look at Scott Brooks coming into his pit stall. So pit lane getting to be very busy. 13.5 minutes left in this race. About half the field has come in for pits. We'll start seeing the faster drivers come in here very soon. Kevin Parrish leading the way still with a 3-second margin over Luis Enriquez. Luis trying to close that gap down. It looks like Luis is faster in different sections of the track than Kevin, so if they're able to get together, it could be quite a race. We'll see if Kevin comes in the pit lane this time. Yes, he's going to pull over into the pits. Will Luis Enriquez follow? And it looks like Luis is lining up to come into the pits as well. And we'll see if anybody in the top 5 is able to stick out for another lap. So far, no, all 5, 6, 7 cars in the top 7 have come down pit lane. There comes Dave Moore. That makes the top 8 are in now. I think we're going to see just about everybody else then in this lap. We'll see who comes off in the lead of this race. Actually, no, Levi Powell is going to take it for one more time around. Going to try to get that bonus point for leading the race and leading the division. He's going to stick out there for one more lap, so he's going to inherit the lead of this race temporarily. Who's going to win this race off of pit road? Waiting to see. Kevin Parrish rolls first, but Luis Enriquez is right there with him. That gap has evaporated. Luis may have to do some fuel saving as the rest of the cars come off in an absolute gaggle, but a good job out of Luis Enriquez to close that gap up. We have a race now, boys.
We do have a race. Like you said, fuel concerns going to maybe come into play later, but right now, that might have been the only way he really had to close that gap to get up to the lead. And we need to check the roll cage on Levi Powell's car. Make sure he didn't hollow it out and run some fuel line through it, because I don't know how anybody's going to make 28, almost 29 minutes by the time he gets back around to pit road. That is quite excessive. Everybody else has come down pit road, but that green and camo Mustang decides, you know what? No, I'm going to lead a lap. I'm going to get some camera time. And sometimes going long may be the play. Again, doing that lawn work there in that corner, and that there is no grass even remaining. I mean, it's all just dirt. I didn't even know you could do that in iRacing. It seems the terrain is very transformative, as he is going to get a little bit sideways, some counter steering. Got to imagine those tires are feeling pretty hot at this point. But yeah, battle for the provisional lead. 0.6 seconds from Henriquez to Parrish. Seems like Kevin Parrish having a bit of a better outlap. He has pulled away a little bit since they pulled out of pit road. Fabian Zweyer 4 seconds behind them, and then Taylor Blount right with Fabian. But this could still be a battle. I think they're good at different parts of the track. It seems like the latter sectors of the track, Henriquez has some pretty good pace, so we'll see how exactly that plays out. But Ryan Campbell's still leading the way for Challenger. DeHaan O'Toole about a second and a half, give or take, behind, so still within striking distance, but did not get that pit stop he was hoping for. Here comes Levi Powell. Only took him 29 minutes and 30 seconds to get down, and hopefully he hit pit road speed. But it's interesting, all the issues we're seeing with pit road speed, Randall, because this is a luxury they don't often have. Just a straightforward pit road. It's a straight entry, straight exit, but maybe that's why they're having issues. Maybe they're getting a little bit over-ambitious, thinking that it's easy, and it's kind of deceiving them.
The veritable newbie trap, catching one driver out, as Kevin Parrish is going to take the lead once again and lead the way across the stripe with Luis Enriquez lurking large in those mirrors as Levi Powell is going to roll off. And I'm looking at the timing screen for pit stop times. You'll never guess who has the fastest pit stop. Levi Powell stopped for only 13.05 seconds. Now, if we talk about Kevin Parrish and Luis Enriquez, Kevin Parrish was stopped for 15.88. Luis Enriquez stopped for 13.7. So that's why the gap disappeared, and you saw it. They came in 3 seconds apart, and now it's less than a second. Luis Enriquez is in the catbird seat here and possibly going to have a chance to fight for the win of this race if, and it's a big if, he has enough fuel to make it there. As we get a good view of the parking lot there temporarily, that camera guy just doesn't want to relinquish the command of the production there for a moment. We're going to get back onto the pictures of the cars. Both these Mustangs looking very clean. Luis Enriquez trying to track down Kevin Parrish. If Kevin had saved anything, he needs to start showing it now. There is just over 9 minutes left in this race. It will be it looks like I'm being corrected now. It is going to be a 19-lap race, not a 20-lap race. They are serving a lap number 15, which means it's going to be 4 laps to go this time by Luis Enriquez. If he's got to save any fuel, he needs to do it over these next 2 laps. I think he's going to need 2 laps to really close the gap up and then to fight with Kevin Parrish with the way that it's looking. It's 0.7 of a second right now. So 7/10 in hand for Kevin Parrish. And if Luis is having to do any fuel saving, he's running out of time very quickly to do it. Luke Sudengate continues to have the fastest lap of the race, and that's probably signed, sealed, and delivered there. I doubt we'll see anybody go much faster than that after having refueled and having some wear on these tires. The track temperature is holding steady at 103 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's up about 7 or 8 degrees from where it started the race at, or where they had it at in qualifying. So that's going to play a part into the pace. Taylor Blount now leading in 3rd position in the secondary group, and he's got Fabian Zweyer, Luke Sudengate both right there. Luke has made a big move after that through that pit cycle to get up a couple of positions. He also had a very fast pit stop with a 13.23. Here's Super Dave Moore getting around Mike Darknut Neekum as he makes his way into roller coaster. So it's all starting to kick off. And who's that behind? That was Andy Bell, the Iceman. The Iceman cometh, the Iceman slideth through roller coaster. He manages to keep it pointed in the right direction, but those cars ahead of him are going to start getting a little bit smaller if he keeps that up.
Yeah, it is something with rear grip today, man. I've seen so many Mustangs just kick out sideways like they're trying to get style points or something, and that's actually what cost Luis Enriquez. He was 0.5 back, and then right before we cut away from him, he got a little bit into a 4-wheel slide, drifted off the track into the grass, lost 2/10 right there. Has not made it up as of yet, but you did mention the fuel saving situation, Randall, and right now this actually might benefit Enriquez if he is concerned. Being in the slipstream, you're automatically saving a little bit of fuel here or there. You could even roll off the accelerator just a little bit and save some more, but you don't want to let him get too far ahead of you because you still need to be able to be close enough to get around him at the end of this thing. So he's got a difficult hand to play. Randall is balancing a lot of houses of cards, and he's got to hope they don't fall.
Absolutely. Taylor Blant is 6 seconds off of that battle for the lead, but he's going to have his hands full for the rest of this race. Fabian Zweyer and Luke Studengate both knocking on his back door, trying to get around him as we see a bit of a battle developing there out of Jeff Schnackle and Fabian Zweyer, or not Fabian Zweyer, Evan Hubchak coming through Roller Coaster. These guys, if they start fighting too much, they could lose contact with the three ahead of them. But right now, it looks like we have 5 cars all in play here for the bottom step of the podium. And unless something really unfortunate happens between Kevin and Luis, they are out of the running for the win at this stage of the races. We're going to see Ed Santinelli and Daniel Gabaldon duking it out as they come down the straightaway. Santinelli had 2 tires off the track there, so it looked like he got a little bit of a wide run out of Oak Tree. Maybe he had to make a last-minute juke, or maybe he was looking out of the right side of his car to see where Daniel was as he runs just a little bit wide. Somebody get this guy a track map. He runs off, maybe just doing a little bit of extra groundskeeping, saw some spots over there where the weed eaters had missed and decided to run over it himself. Gets it back on track and gets the position in hand. We're back with Jeff Schnackle and Evan Hubchak. And Jeff Schnackle going to look to the inside here. A nice late braking move, going to pull alongside as they come into the apex of turn 1. They're going to run a little bit wide. He really diamonds off those first 2 corners and runs out into Evan with a little bit of bump and grind going on there in turn 1. Doesn't look like either car comes out with much damage, but they did lose a bunch of time to the 3 ahead of them.
Yeah, when you're battling like that, you're just slowing each other down and not going to be super beneficial. But I think it's kind of understandable. Schnackle might have been getting a little bit impatient there as he'd been part of that battle for the last 5 or 6 laps. A bit of a replay here. Andy Bell having some more trouble, it would seem. Or maybe this is the incident earlier where he just got a little sideways here. Going through the corner, not too far from Mike Neekum. And then rear end steps out, and around he goes. Aaron Bray just barely making the evasive maneuver. That was actually really impressive that he got to the bottom in time, because Mustangs don't like to move that fast, Randall, and he made it happen.
Absolutely. We saw he gets out there in that marbles and that loose stuff, and it makes you go around really quickly, and you're absolutely right. It's hard to change the trajectory through corners. We see Tom Wendt running off track, going to give up a couple spots there possibly to Stephen Price, to Dave Blair and Jeff Andrus ahead of him now. We saw him going off track as they got into the snake. He goes too wide into the snake here with Andrus and just runs wide and gives up the spot to Blair. He's able to recover the car very well, and that's tricky enough to do on its own, is be able to recover the car where it goes off there, because not only are you on grass, it slopes away from the track, so you really had to put a lot of right hand down to get that car back on track and then manage not to spin it, as we're going to watch Dave Blair all over the rear bumper of Jeff Andrus. He's going to get a little bit loose coming out of Oak Tree, which is going to give Andrus a better run off the corner, but he's going to fall back into that slipstream, try to close that gap up, maybe look to one side or the other coming into Roller Coaster. You kind of want the right-hand side, which is where I'm going to guess Andrus is going to stick the car, and that is where Andrus is going to stay there on the right-hand side. Make Dave Blair take the left-hand side. It does give you the initial inside, but you quickly come to the outside line, and he's going to run wide there, and it's going to push him off track. He's going to run off track and give the spot back to Tom Wendt. Jeff Andrus is going to run off and say, "Thank you very much, sir. That's exactly what I wanted you to do," and he's going to retain his position.
Somehow going to retain that position. Very action-packed set of corners there. So we follow along with Tom Wendt back in P27 for Fredo Sport. These guys got a little bit of breathing room. They're not as stressed out as the guys up ahead, but speaking of the guys up ahead, it was 0.7 of a second. Now it is down to almost 0.3. Big slipstream out of Henriquez. Going to pull him to the tow hitch of Kevin Parrish. And it seems like the pace has equalized. And I don't know if maybe Henriquez is just figuring something out. You know, we are towards the end of this race. He's made a lot of laps. Might have gotten a little bit more accustomed to this track. Kind of shook the rust off. Or maybe he just wasn't showing his card to the start of this thing. He might have just been playing it a little patient. But some drivers who have not been patient this pack have, I mean, it's been 37 minutes. 37 minutes of these three looking at each other the whole time, single file, bumper to bumper. I mean, they have spent this entire race battling amongst each other. You don't often see that. They came in the pits together. They exited the pits together. It has been quite the show. Now Fabian's Wire getting aggressive on the outside, drives it in deep. He's gonna do it. No, he's not. Okay, I said he was gonna do the outside work, and I shouldn't have said anything.
You may have seen it as the top 5 flashed by the front straightaway, but the white flag is in the air, so Luis Enriquez has got to do it this lap if he's going to get it done. Fabian's Ware tried to get it done in turn 1, ran a little bit too deep, got out there into the grass just a little bit, gets it going back in the right direction. That's going to take him out of the running for third. We're going to jump in with Luis as he's trying to track down Kevin here. They're making their last circuit, their last time through the S's right now, and we're seeing that gap get a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller as he's closing, as they're approaching South Bend. He needs a good run through this corner. He needs to set up that entry for Oak Tree and get that good run off the corner down the straightaway to be able to challenge Kevin here. We'll be keeping our ears on this car as well to make sure he's not running out of fuel. Is he going to get to that apex a little bit cleaner than Kevin? Kevin having a little bit of oversteer coming off the corner, but a good drive off. The Luis is in the pocket right now, going to slipstream his way up. Is he going to look to the left or is he going to look to the right? And where is Kevin going to defend? Which way is Kevin going to go? Looks like Kevin's going to keep to the right-hand side of the track. Luis not quite there yet, and maybe not going to have a chance to get there. He's going to show the nose as they come up to roller coaster. It could be a bit of a kamikaze move as he's going to get right to the bumper as they come up to the top of the hill and through roller coaster. A little bit of a touch there to let him know he's there, but no harm done, no foul. He's going to have one more shot. We could have a drag race down the start-finish straight. Who's going to get a better run off a hog pin? And Luis has got a pretty good run, but is he going to have enough time? He's going to have to get into that slipstream and close the gap up, but it looks like Kevin has enough of a run off that final corner. He's going to come across the line first with Luis Enriquez not very far behind to win once again here in the American Muscle Series at VIR. And then who's going to hold on for third? It's going to be Taylor Ballant over Luke Sudengay for third place. So a big fight there at the top of the leaderboard. Two big fights getting settled there at the end of the race. And we're going to jump back to Ryan Campbell, who's going to come home with the Challenger Division win. He gets that position away from Chuck Labano one more time, and is going to have a buffer car between him and second place in the form of Dan Ott. Freddie Weaver going to yabba dabba do himself across the line and win in the Amateur Division with a 13th place overall finish. And we have to scroll back all the way to 24th before we find P2 in the Amateur Division in the form of the Iceman, Andy Bell. So he's making his way down the hill now, up the hill. He's just now getting through roller coaster, so he's quite a ways back from the Amateur Division winner. So an action-packed race here. We thought Kevin Parrish had absolutely checked out of this race until we got to the pit cycle. Luis was able to close that gap up. It got all the way down to a bumper's distance. We saw front bumper laid to rear bumper at the top of the hill, but not able to get the move done. So Luis Enriquez is going to come home in second place to Kevin Parrish. Taylor Ballant going to finish third. Ryan Campbell winning in the Challenger Division. Freddie Weaver in the Amateur Division. And another exciting race here at VIR, Andre.
Yeah, you add two more cars and you almost have a what on earth? That's got to be post-race. You almost have a recreation of what we saw last time, just door banging to the finish. Less than a tenth between first and second, and they were running pretty much qualifying pace on that final lap. I believe Henriquez ran a 2:04.1, which is dang near qualifying, which is really impressive. But you have a bit of a replay here. I believe this was from the final lap. Aaron Bray down on the bottom. Just kind of getting the double apex there. No issues yet. Not sure entirely what we're looking at, but we got a bright orange car, so I'm sure what happens, we're going to see it. Could have just been the pass. I believe that is it.
Yeah, it was a pass on Dave Blair there in the closing stages of the race. Aaron Bray had a lot of ground to make up after getting that speeding on entry penalty. So it really threw a wrench into his race. Waiting for those official standings to come in, get that final classification for you as soon as we can, as we see Luis Enriquez pulling into his pit stall. The winners of this race, the top 10 or so, have already made their way around the pit lane. We see Ryan Campbell there going to park it on the front straight, maybe do some burnouts for us while we wait for the standings to come in. But another huge race here in the American Muscle Series. Could be some pretty big championship implications. Kevin Parrish getting another win that should move him into the lead of the Pro Division, though Luke Sudengay, after having to check up for an incident in front of him and kind of lost contact with the leader, still comes home with a very strong 4th place finish. But here are your final results here today from ViR. Your winner, Kevin Parrish, by a gap of 1.5 tenths over Luis Henriquez. Taylor Blant in 3rd, Luke Sudengay 4th, Fabian Zweyer in 5th, Jeff Schnackle in 6th. Evan Hubchak, who we saw go for that absolutely killer move on the outside, just not able to make it stick in turn 1, is going to come home in 7th in the number 7. 8th place overall. 1st place in the Challenger division, Ryan Campbell. Chuck Labano is going to have a very quiet race, but a very good race, finishing in 9th. Dan Ott is going to round out your top 10.
P11 going to Levi Powell, Matt Thompson at P12. Freddie Weaver gets that amateur division win and closes up the battle big time, I believe, taking the provisional points lead for amateur. P14, Mark Cohn, up a little bit from where he qualified. Andrew Bailing, P15. Brandon Brush going to be 16th. Charlie Hosey all the way up to 17th. Not a bad charge through the field. Ed Sancinelli going to bring it home P18. Bring out the top 20 is going to be, drum roll please, P19, Daniel Gabaldon. David Moore going to be P20.
21st, Mike Darknut Neekum. 22nd is Mark Royce. Brandon Smith in 23rd, 2nd place in the amateur division. 24th, the Iceman from Antarctica, Andy Bell. Matthew Gazinda finishes in 25th. Jeff Andrus in 26th. Tom Went, who we saw do a kick flip after the line. If you're in the AMS Discord, you can see some nice pictures of that being posted already. Is going to come home in 27th place. Aaron, that face Bray had a much better race going on than what is showing here on the final classification. It had to serve a speeding on pit entry penalty. He's going to finish in 28th overall. Dave Blair in 29th. Stephen Price in 30th. Jay Little 31st. Scott Brooks, the last car on the lead lap at 32nd. Jeff Bernard, who we saw have some issues there on his own, finishes 2 laps down in 33rd. Brandon Carl, who we saw involved in an incident, is going to come home 34th, 8 laps down. Jay Bass, who we didn't really see much this race at all, finishes 9 laps down in 35th. Joseph Chetty, who we saw involved with Brandon Carl, finishes 12 laps down in 36th. John Casey, 13 laps down in 37th. And Neil Kemp, who never quite made it out of turn 1, unfortunately, just showing 19 laps down, will come home in last place today. Some unfortunate hardware failures there for Neil. I'm sure he was looking forward to this race, and it got dashed for him very, very early on. But that's the results. So you know what that means. We got to find some drivers to talk to, and I have managed to track down the one, the only Kevin Parrish back in victory lane once again, possibly into that Pro Division points lead. Tell us what it was like out there for you today.
Yeah, VIR is a favorite of mine. Historically, I do pretty well here, so when it came up in the draw, I was pretty excited, and we got it done today.
So, how surprised were you to see how close Luis was after the pit stop?
I was surprised to see him that close. I gave up some time there. I knew I had a buffer, so I didn't push the pit stop, but I did not expect to get him back into draft range and have a little battle, so that was a nice, pleasant surprise.
We saw that there was a little bit of bumper to bumper action there at the top of the hill as he came into roller coaster on the final lap. Did you feel much in the car whenever he laid the bumper to you, or were you expecting it, or what was going on there?
Nah, that was just a loving caress. I'm not mad about that.
I think it's one of those situations where if it didn't happen, you'd be more surprised than when it does happen.
Nothing against a little butt touch between friends.
Absolutely. That's the kind of attitude I like to have. Well, Kevin, you're in victory lane once again. We're halfway through the season. What do you think about the second half? What are your chances going in here?
Looking forward to it. We'll keep grinding away.
Are you ready for the oval race at the end of the season?
Oh, we'll see. That's a big unknown, isn't it?
It's a big wild card. Absolutely, it is. Well, Kevin, before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Let's shout out my wife. It is her birthday, and unfortunately, it hasn't been the happiest day for her. So let's send some love to her.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations once again on another win here in the American Muscle Series, and happy birthday to your wife, Kevin.
Appreciate it, guys.
That was your Pro Division and overall winner, Kevin Parrish. And Dirt, I hear you've managed to track down Ryan Campbell.
That I have. Mr. Campbell, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, you were really battling for it all night long. It didn't come easy. Tell me a little bit about your race and how do you feel about this track in general?
Oh, I love this track. ViR is so much fun. It feels really good here. Yeah, the start, I knew Dan was the points leader, so I saw an opportunity to just throw it up alongside into the S's on lap 1, and it paid off. I did not plan to have to stay alongside him that long, though. That was a bit sketchy by the end.
Yeah, it definitely was fun to watch up in the booth, and Dan never really fell off your back bumper. I mean, there were times in that race I thought he had the Jaws music playing, closing in little by little. He never quite got to you. How closely were you looking at that mirror?
I certainly was, but I think we were running pretty much just matching each other for lap time, so I think it all came down to that first lap move. I think if the roles were switched, I probably would have just been in his position, staying behind, using the draft.
And finally, how do you feel about the points picture now that we are halfway through the season? This battle for the Challenger division is not going to be said and done. I mean, this could go to the very last race, especially with that double points oval race coming up at the end of the year. What do you think your chances are here?
I think they're pretty good, but I was looking forward to Challenger being really stacked this season, and it looks like it is, so I hope it goes all the way to the end.
It's not fun if you don't earn it, and you're having to earn it this year. It is definitely stacked, and you're doing a great job. So hopefully we're talking to you again soon. Thank you for your time. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out or thank before we let you go?
Oh, definitely TW3 Liveries. I mean, he made this amazing new Mustang paint for me for this season, and it just looks incredible. He personally made a couple logos on there, and it looks great.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time. We'll let you go celebrate. Catch you next time.
Thank you.
That was your Challenger Division winner, Ryan Campbell, and this is going to be my favorite interview of the night. Fred Flintstone himself, Freddie Weaver, comes home with the Amateur Division win. Tell us about your race, Freddie.
Wow, it was a nail biter, that's for sure. I knew the ViR from racing it a couple seasons ago. It's a draft track, and pretty much if you don't find drafting partners, somebody that's about your speed, a little faster, then you're just going to get left in the dust. So that's what I did. I hooked up with Thompson and Cone and just stuck to him. I didn't try to pass him until Mark decided on the last lap to go for it, and I just took the inside and took the position from him and ended up 13th, I believe.
Absolutely. That's quite a handful of spots from where you started. Were you surprised to make your way up, or were you looking to make moves very early on? And how did that play out for you?
Pretty much early on is surviving. It's, AMS, they're pretty good about not getting in wrecks, but they happen. And you don't want to be on the wrong line when one happens, because then you get caught. Either you get wrecked or you lose a bunch of spots. So I was beginning the race just surviving, and then once 2 laps, 3 laps, tires get worked in, then it's kind of like, okay, just keep pace with the fast guys. Pick off what you can get and just maintain pace.
Well, what are your chances going into the second half of the season? I know other than the oval, you have no idea what the tracks are going to be, but you have got a feel for the competition through 6 rounds so far. What do you think your chances are of closing that gap up to Kevin, especially with him being gone tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's fast. Like, he was real fast for about 3 weeks there. And that seems like, I don't know, his Superman wore off. So maybe I found some kryptonite that I can finally take him down.
Well, maybe you'll take the club on the front of that car and bash him over the head with it and get some wins from him.
Maybe we'll try.
Well, congratulations on yet another win here in the Amateur Division. Before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
I mean, my wife, she's a champ. She puts up with all this sim racing, spending all the money, spending all the time down here. Of course, the Frito Sport guys. I think I'm getting better at learning tracks, racing with them, because they race a bunch of different cars, different tracks. So I'm kind of getting used to racing different stuff now. So hopefully that helps out at the back end of the season.
Well, congratulations once again. We'll let you go celebrate. And I don't think this is the last time we're going to talk this season, Freddie.
Well, I hope not. Hopefully Victory Lane holding a championship plaque from Nickham.
Absolutely. That was your Amateur Division winner, Freddie Weaver, championship hopeful there in the amateur division. He's going to have a good shot at it after tonight. And that's going to wrap up the interview section of this broadcast. I'd like to tell you one more time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you know every single time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live. But Andre, another great night of racing here with the Mustangs. Halfway through the season already, it feels like we just started.
Yeah, these seasons go by in the blink of an eye, but VIR does not ever fail to deliver another great race, another close battle for the win, and closing of the points gaps in all divisions. It's getting more exciting as the season goes on. Sometimes you expect it to kind of separate. One guy runs away with the championship. That is not happening this year for the lower two divisions, and even the pro division is not too far from first and second. So it's really been a fun season. Season 9 has been amazing, and I'm just glad VIR came up. I had a few tracks that, when I heard we were doing this random draw thing, I was like, yeah, I hope this track shows up in this track, and this was number 2 on my list. So I was very excited to see it, and we had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, I will encourage you one last time to keep your eyes peeled on the Slow Motion Broadcasting channel all throughout the week. Racing action up and down, all different kinds of series. You have open wheel, you have GT cars, all of your racing action needs fulfilled right here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. So check us out anytime that we're live. That's gonna put a button on it tonight for the American Muscle Series. Be back here next Tuesday. Correction. Next Tuesday, we are off. We take a mid-season break every season. So catch us back here in 2 more weeks for the kickoff of the second half of season 9 of the American Muscle Series. My name's Randall McGrew. I've been joined in commentary by Andre Dirk Grandbouche, and we've had Joshua Wilkie in the virtual production hauler tonight helping us out with all the live pictures. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We'll see you again in a couple weeks, and have a good night.